Okay, so now we'll do the sixth Mamer in the Parshas Voeschanan, the Likutei Torah. The pasuk goes on the pasuk Vidaita Hayom v'Hashavisa El Levavecha, and this has been a few Mamorim before. Also, he discussed the same idea, and this is sort of a follow-up to the previous Mamorim. Vidaita Hayom v'Hashavisa El Levavecha. The pasuk says that you will know today and you'll put to your heart. Hashem Elikim, there is nothing else. So what's the exact meaning of the pasuk? So here it teaches Vidaita Hayom, that you should know the day, just like the day is made up of a night and a day, altogether makes it one day. So the person is made up from a Yetzer Tov and a Yetzer Hara. A nefesh kis nefesh together, it makes up a person, and from that you'll understand Havaya hu Elikim, that Havaya and Elikim are also the same. So basically, there are three things that are the same, even though they're two parts. But when they get together, that becomes a one unit. So Hayoim becomes one unit, and Levavecha becomes one unit. Of course, the Yetzer Hara starts off in a negative, but then when you turn it around, it becomes Shnei Yitzerecha. And the same thing is, understand from this that Havai is Elikim, as the Mamer will go to explain. Pirish. Yadaita Hayoim. Is Kemoisha Hayoim im Halaylo. The night with the day, Ushnehem Echad. So the night, the day is with the night. And today, together, they're one. It makes it into one. What does it mean, one? It becomes one day. Kemoisha Kosov, the pasuk says, Vahi Erev, Vahi Boker. It was the evening with the morning that makes it one day. So you will return and look at your heart, just as it is in time meaning day and night. So you combine the day and the night to make it out into one day. Same thing is in the soul. The two hearts that the person has, which is the good inclination and the bad inclination, they really are together as one. Which means, does it mean the Yetzer Hara is one with the Yetzer Tov? Shegama Yetzer Hara, Yoshuv Lavodas Havaya. Also, the Yetzer Hara will return to the service of Hashem. When you subdue the Sitra Achra, you bring about that the Yetzer Hara should also turn around and become the service of Hashem. Like the pasuk says, "B'chol levavecha," so which means the Shnei Yitzerecha. Doesn't say B'chol lebecha, says the vavecha. This is the two inclinations. B'chol levavecha Yitzerecha. So that's also b'hashem v'yisa el levavecha. Bring that to your heart, that the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara, after you are able to subdue the Sitra Achra, it becomes one. You serve the Eberste B'Shnei Tzedakah. And from this, Vidaat, you will know Kikach Habayu Elikim Chulu, that the same thing is Hashem and Elikim. Ba'ayim Mizeh Bereshis Chochma Shara Ava Sei Perik Hei, and B'Sefer Avedis HaKodesh Chelik Aleph Perik Yud Aleph Yud Beis, U'B'Zeyar Parshas Va'ira Daf Chavav Amid Beis V'Reish Chav Zayin Amid Aleph Daf Chav Zayin Amid Aleph U'B'Pirish Ramaz. To understand this idea, what is the moshel and the nimshul over here? Because you have a example you bring from the heart, from the day, and then we're saying the Vayilikim. So tzarich lagim, to understand it, we have to introduce Mamer Azal, the saying of our saints of blessed memory. Gemara says that Shimon HaMsoini Hoyedoirish Kol Esin Shabbatorah. That Shimon HaMsoini, he would expound anytime it says the word S, it says the word S. He would expound and say, what is this S coming to include? And then Kivon Shigia LaS Havaya Lekechotira, the pasuk that says Es Hashem Lekechotira. So he didn't know Pirish Chulu. He stopped. He doesn't say anymore. He stopped explaining the S's once he came to us. Why? The fish, oh, your kosher beino, because it was difficult in his eyes, he didn't understand. Es lerabis, he telling that es abaya lekecha means to include. Kimahu bo lerabis, what is it coming to include? So he stopped. Later on, the Chacham is at the Tam Chacham. The Rabbi is also here, the Tam Chacham, but Shimon Amsoni, he stopped when it came to the S, because there's nothing to include to S Hashem Elokecha Tira. So Iksham Meforshim asked the question, Lama lahoyo kosher ba'haftas Hashem Elokecha. How come when he came beforehand, says the Pasuk, V'haftas Hashem Elokecha, why didn't he have a difficulty? Mabo es lerabis. What is S coming to include? There's also a pasuk S. How come he wasn't troubled by that? The Rebbe is going to explain that Ahava, the S, includes Yira, meaning that the Ava should be with Bittel. Yira, relative to Ava, is called S, secondary. S means a secondary. Ava is not secondary to Yira. So when it came in the Pasuk, talks about Ava, so then we're saying S means include also Yira. So Hafta, S, and also Yira you should have with Hashem Elokecha. But when it came to Hashem Elokecha Tira, he couldn't learn over there that it's coming Ava, because Ava is not a secondary to the Yira. Inside Inyan, who the idea is Kiribui S or S Hatofel. When we say that the S is coming to include something else, something more, that is the secondary. That's something which is secondary. Who Inyan Mashakosu Bezeira Kodesh Al Posik. That's what it says in the Zohar, the Holy Zohar and the Posuk. V'haftas Hashem Elokecha. So it says in the Zohar, Do iu rozo lachlolo smola b'yimino. This is the secret to include the left in the right. So, in other words, in the Avas S, to bring into the Ava, that is what the S is coming to include, to bring in Yira into the Ava. Hu b'chinas Yira. This is the level of Achlos u'mamina. Hu b'chinas, that's level of Yira. Shetehei ha'ava klula b'Yira v'loi Ava l'vado. That the love of Hashem should be included with fear of Hashem and not just Ava. V'uinyan the ribui, and that is something which you include. You bring in es l'rabis hasatofel. That is secondary to bring. Ubchinas Yira lachlolo smolo. And that's the level of Yira. That means to include that the smile shubchinas esatofel, level of hainu bchinas bitl chulu. That is the level of Yira. That together with the level of love, Ava generally is an idea of a yesh misha'oyev. You love Hashem. But to include the Yira there means to include the level of bittul, that the love should be with bittul. But that only applies as to be koilo Yira with Ava. Ulefisha Yira hinermezes b'milas es hatofu. Since Yira is hinted in the word es, which hatofu v'hafta es Hashem Elokecha. That's why you can come included in S in the hafta. It does not come to include S in the hafta. Why? Because Ava is not secondary to Yira. Why is that? Why is Ava main? And Yira is Tafel, and not the reverse, because Ava is considered to be the masculine, and the Yira is considered the feminine. Ava ubechinas dechar v'yimin. Ava is the level of male, masculine, and yimin, and the right. comes first. Zochar Chazde. Zochar Chazde means you remember. There's a hint, a remiss, that Chesed is Zochar, is masculine. Vayira b'chinas Nukva. That's the level of Nukva, as the pasuk says, Isha Yiras Hashem. V'hanukva hi b'chinas Tofel, v'gay b'adchar v'loy lehepech. And the feminine is secondary to the masculine and not the other way around. Okay. But what does this mean? Oh, how does it mean that you're going to have Yira included in Abba? You need to understand. How is Yira included in Abba? They're two separate, and one is from a distance, and the other one is love comes from a distance. When you're far away, you have a hamshacha, because you feel you're thirsty, you're afraid, you're lacking, you miss your father, so therefore you have a desire to get close. So love comes because you feel distant. And fear comes when you're actually facing it, then you're afraid. So how do we include both? How is the fear, the yira, called Ab? But Abba and Yira are two opposites. Why? That Abba, which is the yearning to connect to Hashem, that comes because of distance. Commercial Misha, who a person who is far from his father's home, and he desires and he yearns to see his father. So why does he yearn to see his father? Because he's in a distance from his father. That's why it says in the pasuk of this, Nafshi ibisicho balayla. At the darkness, at the nighttime, my heart yearns for Hashem. Meaning, when it's dark, when it's night, which means you don't have open relationship and open love, so you yearn for it. Because it's night and darkness, which means it is blocked and it's in the blessed light of the Ein Sof. That's why I desire you, I want it to be light. When it's dark, then you want to light it. Like the pasuk says, my soul thirsts for you, my flesh yearns for you, in a parched and dry and tired land without water. So when there is no water, that's when the soul thirsts for Hashem. And you're saying, so we should be able, even when we are in a good situation, in a good standing, in Kodesh, we should also see Hashem with that yearning. But the yearning comes when you're in a far away, since he's in a land of dry and tired land, so that's going to increase the yearning and the thirst with more force. I know that is when a person puts to his heart that the Ein Sof Baruch Hu is like his name, which means we call him, the name of him is Ein Sof. That is actually, he is no end. Ein Lo Sof V'chulu. He doesn't have any end. Why? Because Kinizgov Shmoi Levadi, the Eberster's name, that's his Ha'orah, his Oir, is all by himself. It's not something that comes to us that we can have any connection to. It is only a ray, shine, a reflection from the name Shemoi, which is Ein Sof, is a letter to Shemayim. That comes to letter to Shemayim. Letter to Shemayim. All the Gan Edens, even the highest level, the level of Gan Eden, also get only a Hoyd and Azir. Eretz, Zu Gan Eden Atacht. Eretz is the lower level of the Gan Eden. Shemayim, Gan Eden Elyon. And Shemayim is the upper level of Gan Eden. Level of Bria, Gan Eden Atacht, level of Yitzira. Shegam Heim, Einon Elo B'chinas Hoydei Ziva Shel Shemayim. Also them, they are only a ray, which means we're an Asiya, but even they, in the level of Bri, Yitzira, and Gan Eden Elyon, Gan Eden Atachten, they're also only a ray and a ziv of Hashem's name. Ki nizgov Shmoi levadei. That Shmoi is levadei. Hoydei. Only this hoydei from the Shmoi is a letter to Shmoi, which is tzaddikim yoishvim v'nenim ziv Shechina. The tzaddikim are sitting and they're enjoying the ziv of the Shechina. That's the hoydei v'zivoi. That's an letter to Shmoi. V'odom yorad mata. And the person went down below, which is in Olam Hazeh, Olam Hazeh. Show Midbar Tziyah, Midbar Tziyah, that's a desert, it's a parched land. Asher al Kain, and therefore, Sama HaNefesh V'tichsav Elov Yizbarech Liyes. So therefore, the soul thirsts. And yours to Hashem, Lias came back to be able to see Hashem in His glory. You want it. Came back to you want to see Kodesh. So Mizmar David be'esav Midbar Yehuda. It says Mizmar David when it was in Midbar Yehuda. Ki bechinas hamidbar v'atziyah shel olam hazeh. That's the midbar. When you are in the midbar, then it brings you to Yehuda. Mizmar leDavid b'yosei b'midbar. When you are in the midbar, then it's Yehuda. Then you start praising and thanking and loving Hashem. Ki b'chinas hamidbar atziyah shel olam hazeh u'agorim liyos Yehuda. That causes to be Yehuda. Hapam oida v'goymer. As the pasuk says, now she called her name Yehuda because she said, Apam Oida, and to increase the level of the thirst. Over there, Gabei Ronono Baramsho, that the Rina comes in the evening. So similar idea that in the Ronon, through the evening you can bring the Ronon. Also in the Rabbis Bamidbar Ish Parshas Gimel, and in Zohar Cheli Gimel Daf Samach Zayin Amadal. Av al Hayira Hibo Machmas Bechinas Akiruf. But so Ava comes from Richuk, from the realization how far we are from Hashem. We're only a Hoyd Viziv, and we're in Olam Hazeh. We're in Eretz Siya V'Oyev. That's why we have Kei B'Kodesh Chazi Sicha. We want to see the Chazi. Avala Yira Yiba Machmas Chenesa Akiru. Yira comes from a level of closeness. The Hainu that is she's born and B'Kirvas Havaya. Hasrev Kulam Chulu, when he reflects that how so close Hashem is Sev Kulam. Well, we just explained Hashem is far from us, but that's the level of Ishtalshlus, that's the level of Imalek Kulam. But in the level of Sev Kulamim, you're going to reflect, you're going to see that Hashem is actually close to you. How so? I mean, this is a person who's in Olam Hazeh, and he knows that he's on a far distance. So he knows it is true that he's very far from the light of Hashem. Because of the descent of all the levels the world evolved, so he knows that he's in Amlo Madrega. By descending below, one step after the other step, so that he is become very far. So mitzad that, he knows that he's distant from Hashem. To be both ruchnius and gashmius. So meaning that from the perspective, he knows that he's far from Hashem. But he's only far from Hashem relative to the perspective and the light of the Ein Sof, which comes in a Ishtalshalus. So over there, he is distant. But when we talk about the light of Hashem, which surrounds all the world, over there, that light does not evolve. It doesn't go down from level to level. That is equal everywhere. That's kihu hashove umashve kotten v'godel. Hashem makes equal. The small and the big are all equal before Hashem. Relative to the level of Ein Sof, there is no differences. As the pasuk says, "Hamagbihi lo sheves," while Hashem sits on a very high up, he mashpilin lirois. He lowers himself to look in the ground. So in other words, the lower ground, the lower earth, is not measured one against the other. And the Eibishter, as being in Loshem Agbi, the way he's up there, he's also down here. He's equally present, both in the higher worlds and the lower worlds. Just like Hashem finds himself in the upper, he's also b'tachtonim. So basically what he's saying over here, while a Yid may feel that on the revealed level he's far away from Hashem because he doesn't live up to, or B'chlal Elam Hazeh, we're in a very low level, but that's from that perspective. But from the perspective of Sovev Kol Almin, Hashem is here present just like in the upper worlds, and he's very close to Hashem. Because when he gives another interpretation over here to understand also, we say the light that surrounds the world. So one thinks, what does it mean surrounds? Surrounds means somewhere around you. Like you say, something inside and something surrounds, but that's not really what surrounds means over here. When we say the light of Hashem is makif, it surrounds, doesn't mean that it's somewhere outside and not in. It means it's in, but it doesn't affect you in an inner way. The Sevev Kol Almin ain't pirushei shu Sevev Makiv Malmayla Levad. We don't mean that it's surrounding and it's going around from the top. Elo shu nimtza lemayla tokemoy lemayla, but he is found below as above. Bechinas Sevev Umakiv, in a way of Sevev Makiv. Ubechinas helav lo bechinas gilui. In a way of hidden and not inner, not revealed. So as if to say, in this world, the Sovev is right here. Hashem's presence is here in this world. But it's not a presence that is revealed and not in an inner way. So it's here and not affecting us in an open way. It's not something that we can relate to in an open way. What does this all tell us? So this brings us to the level of fear of Hashem. Before we talked about the level of Ava comes because of the level of being distant from Hashem. When the person reflects, that Hashem, who surrounds the world, is standing above him. Hashem is here. Why? Hashem is right here, below, just like he's above. So then upon him will fall a fear, a dread. What does it mean, a fear? I mean, a fear of somebody punishing you or something like that. So first of all, there is yira boishes. There's a fear of shame. You're afraid. You're embarrassed in front of Hashem. That is level yira ilah. That's a higher level of fear. Or yira tato. Then there is a lower level of fear. Just fearing Hashem. Not to rebel. You fear doing things that are against Hashem's will. God forbid. So what's the kitzur over here? So what we learned before is love of Hashem comes from a sense that you're distant from Hashem. And because you're far, you want to connect. You have a yearning to connect. And that's what the pasuk says. Nafshi v'sicha balaylo. My soul, I yearn you at nighttime, meaning when it's nighttime, when it's dark, when you don't see Hashem, that's when you yearn to see, you yearn for the light when things are dark for you. Nafshi v'sicha balaylo. So that means love, which means drawing and want to come to Hashem closer, is because you feel a distance from Hashem. On the other hand, fear of Hashem, that comes from the level that you feel close to Hashem. So that's why you have that experience of fear, because you are in the presence of Hashem. Because that means you feel and you sense Hashem. That explains, we say, when the Yidden experience Matan Torah, so it says over there, so the people saw Hashem and they moved away and they stood from a distance. What happened? Because the Yidden had such a strong experience of the presence of Hashem, so that brought them to a level of yira, a level of fear. And that's why they stood from a distance. They backed off. Which is lanuach ma'at ma'yira hatzuma. That is to rest a little bit, a bit of rest from this powerful fear that came because of the closeness. So you see, the fear came because they were close. So they moved back. The move back is to take a pause from that experience. But what did we say? So we said, "V'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha," that we're coming to make. You want to get a book? There's a book downstairs. Just listen. I don't think there's another book over here, but downstairs is one. There's another book. Yeah, there's a book over there. If you want the book, which page is it on? Huh? I don't know. It's not going. It's in the Parshas Voeschanan, the 7th Parshas Voeschanan. Okay. All right, we'll go by them. But what's the idea over here is to include. Here, you want to give me your book from it? Another one. Okay. Base. Achiskalus, but this inclusion, Shetehei Ava Klula im Hayira, Vayira im Ava. In order to achieve that, love should be included with the fear of Hashem, and the fear should be included with the love of Hashem. So that we should have two opposites together, the love and the fear. You have the rochik and the korib. How do you bring them together? Al Zen Nemar. About this, the pasuk says, Sholem Sholem la rochoik v'la korev. Sholem Sholem to the distant and la korev. Seems a little bit out of order over here. If you say Sholem Sholem, first you say to the one that's close to the korev, and then you go to the rochoik. Why does it say here la rochoik and then la korev? So Yeshaya Siman Zayin Poskutas. So the Gemara darshans that it means when we say Sholem la rochoik is la rochoik shenasa korev. It's a rochoik that was rochoik, but he became close. So actually, first Sholem comes to the rochoik that nasa korev, and the second one goes to the one who's always korev, but they're both korev now. But it's the rochoik shenasa korev. What does it mean, the rochoik shenasa korev? We just explained that Abba is rochoik and Yira is korev. That means the Abba that has become close. Rochoik ubchinas ha'Abba and korev ubchinas ha'Yira. As we said, Abba comes from a distance, Yira comes from closeness, and here we're saying the combination of the rochoik that becomes korev. Basically, he's going to explain now in the parentheses that Yira comes from the level of Chokhmah. And that's basically the level of Atzilus. In Atzilus is the main expression of Chokhmah. And that's where Yira comes from. That's closeness. That's Atzilus means Eitzel. Bina mainly expresses in Bria. Bria is already a difference. Misham Yiporit. So that's why that's close to Hashem. Chokhmah, Abba is basically the level of Atzilus, it's closeness. Yira. And Atzilus and Bria, that's in Bria. And that's to bring it up to the higher level. Ki Yira, imebchinas Chokhmah ilah. Yira comes from the level of the Supreme Chokhmah. Shekosuf, Reishis Chokhmah, Yiras Hashem. So you see that Chokhmah is called Yira. Chokhmah is so Yira. But Chokhmah, generally, Chokhmah is an Atzilus. Atzilus has all the spheres, of course. But in general, Chokhmah is Atzilus. Pirish Atzilus, what does it mean Atzilus? It also comes from the Loshen. Atzilus meant Afrosha, separate, but here, by Yetzel, but it also means because it's Eitzel v'Samuch. That it means it's next to Hashem. Just like in the Pasuk, it says, Ve'eheya etzloi omon. The Torah says, I was by Hashem, like Hashem's craft, Shashuim for Hashem, but etzloi means next to Hashem. Ki b'chokhmah hu gilui oirei sobaruchu. Why is it called next to Hashem? Because in Chokhmah, there is the revelation of the Eirin Sof Baruch Hu. The infinite light is in Chokhmah. That draws down the Yira, which is Davke closer. That's the level of next to and close to the revelation of the Eirin Sof Baruch Hu. As opposed to the level of love. Even the great love, the great level of love. That comes from the level of Bina. Asher Bina Mekano be Bina Mekano Bibria. Bina hovers and nests in Bria, which means that the Bechinas Misham Yiporit. That's already the level, and says in the Pasuk, separates, goes away, level of Bria. It's not next to Hashem anymore. That's the level of Abba. Okay. So what is the idea of Sholem Sholem Barochik Korev to make the distant Korev? Shenase Sholem Beineim Sholem V'Yizkalus. That it made amongst the Ava and the Yira, it made peace, and it includes them both together. Ki Sholem hu ha'mechaber shnei hafachim. Peace connects two opposites. Like we say, Oisa Shalom Bimreimov. God makes peace in those who are above. What does that mean? That means B'malochim. Bimreimov means those who are above, means the angels. What does it mean Hashem makes peace amongst the angels? Because you have Shemichoel, Sar Shomayim. You have Michoel, the one in charge over water. The Gabriel, Sar Shaleish, and you have Gabriel, who's the officer of fire. So these two Sorim are opposites. Fire and water are opposites. The fire extinguishes the water, right? And the fire dries out the water, and the water extinguishes the fire. But they make peace. How did they peace? Because there is a higher, comes down a higher level. That includes and connect the two opposites. They're only opposites at this level, but in the higher level, they're not opposite. When there is a higher level revealed, then makes peace. Why? That is by becoming subjugated to that ray. Over there, you don't sense anything and its opposite. Basically, two people are debating. They have opinions. Everybody's shouting their opinion against each other. One has one opinion. Then comes in the king, comes in. Now there's no more opinions because in front of the king, everybody is buckled. There's no opinions over there anymore. And over there, because of their subjugation, they no longer feel their point of view or their thing. They become subjugated. Over there, everything is equal. The distance and the close are all equal. No more opinions, no more your own entity, your own ideas. You subjugate yourself to the higher force over there. And that allows for the connecting of the opposite pieces, opposite emotion to work together. When we talk about the Mshach, that's what's written in the davening. We say Hokel, Hagodel, Hagiber, Vehanoira, Kel Elyon, and the awesome, supreme, Kales of supreme. So the word Vehanoira is Betoisefes Vav. It has Vehanoira. Masha'enke, before it says Hagodel, it doesn't say Vehagodel, Vehagiber. It's below Vav. Over there it's without a Vav. Here it's Vehanoira. What does the Vav mean? Hamshocha liyes gilu b'chinas noira. That Ve is to bring down the Gilui, the Bittel Zeh. So when you start off, you're saying, Hokel HaGodel. What is Hokel HaGodel? Godel is essentially Chesed. Gilul is Chesed. Hagiber is Gevura. So there is level of Godel, level of Chesed, level of Gevura. Then you say Vehanoira. That's bringing down the level of Noira, that's the level of Bittel. So through that, the two opposites, the Chesed and Gevura, will be included. Shenimshach mebchinas Kel Elyon. This Vehanoira comes from the level of Kel Elyon. Kihine Kel Elyon, when we say supreme Kel, Haine Elyon, what do we mean supreme higher? Is Lamaila Mina Ishtalshlus. It's above Ishtalshlus. Shehei Bechinas Zivigiluayr. In the Ishtalshlus, we have that's a ray in the revelation of light. Avol Kel Elyon. But when we talk about the Kel Elyon, Nemar Yoshas Choshech Sisrei. Kel Elyon, over there we're saying it's darkness where he places, where he stays, meaning it's a level of darkness. It's not a level of revelation. The level of Ishtalshalus is revelation. This is the higher level. Hahelem veheder ha'asoga. That's the idea of blockage and the lack of understanding. No thought can grasp Hashem. Stima the whole stimin. Hidden of all hidden. Basically, that's not a place, that's a place of darkness. It's a place which there's no perception, there's no understanding. That's Keil Elyon. So when you have Keil Elyon reveal itself, v'hanoira, from the Keil Elyon, that brings about that the person's chesed and gevura, the av and yira, are actually combined. The Priyas Chaim, in the parentheses of here, Priyas Chaim Gabi Keil Elyon, goim lechasodim toivim. No? Bazanemar. So we're talking about the Keil Elyon. Over there it says Baruch Avram L'Keil Elyon Koine Shemayim V'Oretz. So over there we say Baruch Avram Koine Shemayim V'Oretz, that Keil Elyon acquires Shemayim V'Oretz, because we're talking it's a level of higher than Shemayim V'Oretz. Shemayim V'Oretz Ruchnis V'Gashmis B'Teilin Fonu B'Shoveh, that the heavens and the earth, which is the Ruchnis V'Gashmis, they are equally bottled to Hashem. And therefore, it's a higher place. That's the place where, when it comes down, the hanoira, that it causes the level of it. The Priyas Chaim, Gabe, Keil Elyon Gemach Chasodim Toivim Pirush, Keil Elyon Hu B'Bechinas Kesed. That's the level of Kesed. U'Lamaila Gam B'Bechinas Chochmila, which is higher, the Maila, higher and higher than even Chochmila. Ba'im Hashkosim is a b'tiv Ramaschat of Mitzomim. Ba'im Bezoyer Chelik Aleph, Parshas Lechachot Apizayin Amadalev Gabe V'hu Choyin, Choyin L'Keil Elyon over there, Do Yemina L'Keil Elyon Alma Ilah. That is level Yemina Alma Ilah. The Pirush Keil Elyon Hainu Bina. So over there he explains that Keil Elyon is Bina. Because since Ati Keser comes in Bina, L'chein Nikra Bina Gam Ki Shmei HaGod. Mishkosim Zeh B'Biri Yim Zuzum Yimim Min Al-Chanik HaMismel. B'ayin B'Zoyer Chelik Beis in the Parshas Yisrael Tav Samach Zayin Amud Beis Rozo de Kodesh HaKadosh Chulu Utchusi is Kohen Chulu Pirush HaMasha. All right, gotta look up in those references. So basically, in the level of Keil Elyon, is everything the same. Why? Because he's equal and makes everything equal, the small, the big. At that level of godliness, darkness is just like light. He's beyond darkness and light. It doesn't make a difference. They're both equal before Hashem. Hagilu sho'oir, whether it's the revelation, which is light, or it's hidden, which is darkness. Relative to the level of Keil Elyon, relative to the higher level of godliness, whether it's light or darkness doesn't make a difference, because that's beyond. Because everything is like nothing, not relevant at all. Isn't important. Who does it apply to, this, whether it's revealed or it's hidden? That's the world, whether we see Hashem or we don't see Hashem. To us, there is revelation and there is blocking, but to Hashem, hidden and blocking is the same. It doesn't affect. Before Hashem, even darkness doesn't darken from you. Oh, and it's from there, from that level, from the level of Keil Elyon V'Hanoira, but there comes the V'Hanoira, the Hainali is Gilui Noira, that there should be the revelation of the level of Noira. Ugilui habitl. That's the revelation of the subjugation. That way, the emotions of love of Hashem and the fear of Hashem are included. So basically, by the person, say, you have either a love for Hashem that comes from closeness, and you have a level of fear of Hashem that comes from far. So but they're all emotions. But when you bring down, when you get a revelation from even a higher place, so then you're subjugated. There's no fear or no love. It's just a connection to Hashem. Levels of love and fear all work together. It's not any more separate. So, because the Yira, it's higher than the higher level of Yira on its own. Because we already said before, Yira in itself is close to Hashem. And we said it close because the level of the Seif of Kalamim. So we have to say B'Hanoira is higher than the Yirim Tzadar. Dugmas Mashakosu Ba'ora the Tikkun Chatzois, similar to what it says over there in the note, Tikkun Chatzois, is that in a Mailas Yira Zu Abo Mil Maila Chulu Abachinas HaYira Ilo Yira Beisha V'Nefesh. That this extra Yira that comes from above is on a higher level than the supreme Yira, which is the fear of person being ashamed, which is in the soul. It's so much more like the advantage of light over darkness. So basically, meaning the yira that you have before, and the bittul is totally not compared to the bittul that you have to the yira that you get in the higher level. But there is even gamkan. So it's like here too. Save the Ramasch v'cholam roim, save the Ramasch v'yishlach Yaakov, me'inyan Rabbi Kiva shenichlat b'sholom v'yotze b'sholom. Okay, so over there he references this other idea over there. So b'zeu inyan, and this is the idea of Akedas Yitzchak. Akedas Yitzchak means Avraham represents the level of Ava, Chesed. And Yitzchak represents the level of Gvura, level of Yira. And Avraham's binding Yitzchak is expression of Gvura on the level of Chesed of Avraham. That's the Skalilus. And that's to bring binding Yitzchak, to bring him in Midas Avraham. In the measure of Ram, by Yaakov, as Yitzchak benoi memalo eitzim. He bound his son Yitzchak above the eitzim. Above the eitzim, what are the eitzim? The word eitzim and base eitzim. The plural of eitzim is two eitzim. The eitz hachayim, the eitz hadas. And he brought him up the level of Yitzchak umimal lebeis b'chinas eitzim, higher than the two level of eitzim. B'ay mashikos apos mukesh eitzim parsha shlach. The bad mukesh eitzim in the portion of shlach min v'hoyu ke'eitz yuval yishlach shoroshu. B'ay b'zerich eligim parsha shlach dav kol mavhei on the base aposik hayesh b'eitzim ayin. All the idea of eitz over there. This is the idea of Yoshes Choshech Sisrei, Nimshach Gilui V'Hanoira. That brings down the level of V'Hanoira, Li'is Iskalus Hayira, V'Dosei Sheyitzchak, V'Dosei Shel Avram. That brings the inclusion of the midah of Yira, which is the measure of Yitzchak and the midah of Avram, V'Gam Iskalus Ha'ava B'Yira. Also the other way, Ha'ava B'Yira. Basically, to combine these two emotional levels of service of Hashem through the revelation of a higher experience. And then he's going to go on to explain further how actually in the service of Hashem, this plays out in the level of the heart, but we'll leave this for next time.